My jobs, I'm on the jobs and the days nigga fool. Big nigga, this is the big jobs. I'm on the farm and the grand. Homie coming to bed, you put the money on the bed. Honey, I'm in the trap, so many cars in the bed. Homie, put it to go, so let it go. Please, God, that's on hold. God, please, nigga, that's on hold. God, God's supposed to buy this. My nigga, the head is fresh. God, 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 nigga, the next shit, God, this. God, don't buy it, the next shit, don't buy it. Don't buy it.
I've been doing mileage with my phone on silent. Ain't no see, no felt no violence. God got my blessings on autopilot. Why you know what? Tell me peace of mind was pricey. I could dance with the devil, but that's unlikely. I go broke, but that's unlike me. I was born for the mud with the hustle inside me. Born for the mud with the hustle inside me. Feeding my soul. I go make nothing something. Show you my love. I don't fear nothing, nothing. But all for show. Now watch me go show you something. Feeding my soul. I go make nothing something. Going for the moon with us inside. 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 That's my spirit, just not today. I got demons on my back and a lot on my plate. Someone tell them back, I got something to say. Cause they love you, then they hate you, then it's part of the game. They get up, I ain't nothing to play with. All my niggas up the block, all my niggas of slave ships. You can test my spirit, but don't test my patience. I only fear God and you can meet thy maker. I've been feeding my soul. I go make nothing something. Show you my love. I don't feel nothing, nothing. Now watch me go show you something. Don't for sure. Watch me go inside. Going from the mall with the hustle 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 inside. Going from the mall. You don't need to pose and posture when you're born in the struggle. I know a niggas with a needle that could burst all your bubble. These peace signs are just a piece of the puzzle. Spit to the muzzle, silence the lambs, kiss and they cuddle, forget that they cut you. It's just part of the hustle. Going for the mall with the hustle inside. Going for the mall.
Hey, it's a Wild Out Wednesday, and you have just tuned into that starship, that prime time with a purpose, the Real HD Show. I'm your host, Vic, the victorious one, Vic7 here, to give you what you need, you know what I mean? And we have come with a Wild Out Wednesday show, lots of goodies, lots of things in store. So if you'd like to join the Real HD Show, periodically throughout the show, I am going to put the Zoom info in front of the screen like so, and you too can plug up, get involved, join, and let your voice be heard right here on the Real HD show. Um, I hope everybody's doing well. Hope this finds everybody healthy, wealthy, and wiser. You know what I mean? You know that cellular health is important. Um, we come to you from the planet called the Rock, Rochester, New York. You know what I mean? We come to you on a Malcolm X Day. That's right. This is the birthday of our beloved brother, Malcolm X. You know what I mean? Shabazz Day. You know what I mean? So we are going to do it big. We played a little bit of music. We're not going to get too heavy on the music side right now. Why? Because we getting ready to jump into a Biz in the Building segment. And what is a Biz in the Building segment? It's the time when we give the community their roses for doing great things all over the African diaspora right here on the Real HD show. Check it out. Deadline, the melanated manuscript, deadlinerock.com. Africa Diaspora Directorate Black Folk Plan. Community Justice Initiative. Air Max, Airbrush Studio. Brothers and Sisters Barbershop on Dewey. Son of the North ST City Times. Be Healthy Fresh Food Market on Genesee Street, Rock, New York. 9. The new single out, Steaks Digalow. Simply Supreme, hosted by Deja Nia every Saturday at 3 o'clock. She is also Miss Maryland and Miss High School America. Top 5, get your votes in. Trying to help baby girl win. And that was the Biz in the Building segment right here on the Real HD show. And once again, if you'd like to join the Real HD show and join this dynamic conversation, here is the meeting ID and password for Zoom. You can jump on. You can let your opinion be heard. I think we got Mama Sarah already on the line. And we are looking forward to a couple others. And we did our Biz in the Building segment. But we have an add-on. And what's the add-on? The add-on is my baby girl, my daughter, Deja Nia. She's running for a pageant queen in Miss High School America pageant. And she needs your help. Check it out right here on the Real HD show. Miss Maryland campaign for Miss High School America 2021. This gorgeous little one right here. And that's right, MHSA pageant top 5, Deja Nia James, Miss Maryland. Because she was born in Maryland, she is in the top 5 running for Miss High School America. But she can't do it without you. So if you would like to support a daughter of New York, a daughter of Rochester, a daughter of the African diaspora, go to AmericaHighSchoolPageant.com and put in your vote. That vote is only $1. They start at $5 in aggregate, but it's only $1 to get involved. Jump on it, support our daughter. This is our daughter of our community trying to win the crown. She's in the top 5 People's Choice Awards, which means she's in a prime position to do her thing and become queen. Support. And we are back. Real HD show. And we are on YouTube. We're on these YouTube streets right now. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We're on Twitter. We are on Facebook. We are on so many platforms because we multi-stream. That means we try to find as many creative ways using social media and multimedia to bring our show to you. And we appreciate your support. And we have a Cash App, $, The Real HD Show, $, The Real HD Show. And if you like what we do and you like our get down, support. And we can continue bringing you this powerful, hard-hitting, and sometimes unorthodox way of content, cognizance, and conscious living so that we can be healthy, wealthier, and wiser. Get that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding in our life that we need so we can move on and leave those jewels for those who come after us, because we live better lives and we left the earth better than when we inherited it. That's right, better than when we inherited it. And so that's the call letters at the bottom. So if you want to zoom up and you want to join the phone conversation, there are the call letters. You can jump on. That's the meeting ID. That's the passcode. And I thought we had Mama Sarah on. Maybe she stepped away. Mama Sarah, you are always invited. I had to start the show, and maybe that was the delay in addressing you. So just come on back on and you can rock out with us like you always do. Looking forward to hearing your excellent retorts and wisdom toward what we're trying to do right here on the Real HD Show, which is edutain. We give you a little bit of education and edutainment. And we're on a Wild Out Wednesday. Now, the usual format of the Real HD Show is a Hardcore Monday and a Wild Out Wednesday. Wild Out Wednesday is a little more lighter. Monday is the hard topics. Wednesday is the lighter topics, a little unorthodox, a little, off the cuff. But we bring it to you, you know what I mean? Because we think you deserve that good information. And not only do we bring it to you in terms of information, but we bring those chaotic headlines and we heal with what? Freedom music, you know what I mean? And we got something special in store. So one of the pushbacks that we got right here on the Real HD Show was that, we talk a lot. The Real HD Show, we run the jip, you know what I mean? And we not Umar Johnson. We're not just here running the jip, trying to romance you with a whole lot of Afrocentric, facsimile. We want to provide a solution. So we have something that we want to get involved with toward the end of the show. And if you guys stay tuned, you guys will understand what that is. And it's pretty groundbreaking for these YouTube streets, for these Facebook streets, Twitch, Twitter, and social media. I don't know too many people that are getting involved with this, but because of my network with the United Nations and African Union and Friends of the African Union, I have some wherewithal to get this done. So if you stay tuned and you get involved, you can get involved in a plausible, tangible solution for our people and what ails us. Remedy right here on the Real HD Show. And what do we do right here on the Real HD Show? We give you those chaotic headlines for that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, but we battle it with freedom music. You know what I mean? And let me put up that disclaimer one more time so that all of the powers that be in YouTube land can see that we are fully protected. We have permissions. Soundtrack Your Brand is on our side. That's where we get permissions through ASCAP to play all the music, and fair use for all of the videos and content that comes to us via video. You know what I mean? And we are back right here on the Real HD Show. You know what I mean? Shout out to 100.9 FM. That's home base. You know what I mean? That's where we blast off. You can find a lot of our earlier content on repeat on 100.9 FM and at and our national affiliate, which is the TuneIn app. So subscribe and you can catch all of the starter Real HD shows right there on Twitter. Not Twitter, excuse me, TuneIn app, the Real HD Show. Okay? So now, without further ado, we're gonna jump into a Wild Out Wednesday with the good, the bad, and the ugly chaotic headlines for you right here on the Real HD Show. Headline news. You know what I mean? How else can we bring it to you but, you know what I mean, give you that good information that you need so you can move with speed right here on the Real HD Show. Get that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You know what I mean? So we're going to jump right into it. And our first chaotic headline comes to you via something really, really interesting. You know what I mean? My kids grew up with it. Your kids, if you are a Gen Xer, your kids probably grew up with it too. And, you know, I just wanted to make this very, very apparent so that everybody can know what's really popping off. And with this particular headline, because it's worth diving into, it's worth giving this a walkthrough. We're gonna walk this dog with this particular headline, and then once you understand where we're at, then you can also chime in. So what's this headline? It's Wild Out Wednesday, so we're going to give you a different type of headline. That's right. The Proud family is back. What's that Proud family? You know what I mean? Oscar Proud. I believe the wife's name is Trudy, Penny, Sugar Mama, the babies, the dog. You know what I mean? The neighbors, the Spanish neighbors. You know what I mean? The Taino neighbors, the Mexican neighbors. But it's back with a twist. What's the twist? Zachary Quinto and Billy Porter join the Proud family as gay dads. Interesting. Now, if you can tune in and you want to tune in, you guys can jump on and tell me what you feel about and what you think is going on with the new Proud Family series. The reboot. Is Solange and Beyonce gonna sing in the intro and outro? Are they gonna give it that sort of serious face again? Are there gonna be drastic changes that change the nature of how this show originally grabbed people in that real kind of nuclear family dynamic? And now they're changing it. Now they're changing up. Now it's kind of wide open. It has a 21st century cultural appeal to it. Very, very interesting. So here is your headline. Give me 1 second to pop it up. Boom. Proud Family reboot to star Billy Porter and Zachary Quinto as the gay couple. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about this. How is this striking you? How are you guys adjusting to what this means? Potentially might mean. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Because that's what's really popping right now, you know? The Proud Family is taking a really, really interesting direction. And I would like to know from you guys how you feel, what this makes you feel. Are you going to let your kids watch? Are you ready for this? And then, if it is within this frame, right? Are you cool with everything that may present? You know what I mean? How far is too far with the gay dads? How far is too far? How decent is decent? You know what I mean? I don't know that they showed too many intimate scenes with Oscar and Trudy. You know what I mean? I know they showed Sugar Mama and the Spanish cat doing their thing. But is this something that you want your kids looking at? You know what I mean? And here's a more interesting dynamic. And a word to the wise to close out this particular article. And that would be, with the percentage of LGBTQ that's in the American population, which kind of rounds about to about 0.9%, maybe less. Um, Not even 9% of the American population. Does the Proud Family and such a classic show on Disney that got such fanfare, does it deserve this sort of identity and presence within the show? Does LGBTQ presence deserve to be on the show? Is it truly representative of the is it truly represented of the people who watch the show? Mostly a kid show, mostly a millennials based show, and I feel like this is kind of being shoehorned at us. I feel like this is kind of being kind of forced at us, and we really don't have an opportunity to deal with it from a perspective of, you know, what we're going to do with it as a community before it's already a part of our kids' leisurely activities. And of course, we have a really big Christian component in the country, black Christians. Of course, you know, South Carolina, those black Christians voted Biden and Kamala Harris into office. And how do they feel about this twist and turn of things? Is that crowd going to be okay with this sort of onset? You know what I mean? This LGBTQ onset within the structure of what was once a proud nuclear family, African American based cartoon. You know what I mean? Let me hear from you. Drop it in the comments. Zoom up. Let me know how you feel. Let me know what's going on with you. Let me know what you're feeling with it. You know what I mean? Let me put the info back in the background so those who want can see, and you can join, and you can give your opinion on the Proud Family introducing a gay couple onto the TV show. And is that truly represented of the population, of the gay population in the country, so that it deserves that sort of commercial placement? Or is this being shoehorned? So that is the essential question. And I think we got Mama Sarah on the phone. Mama Sarah, what's going on? Unmute yourself. Tell us what's up. How do you feel? Are you there? I guess you got to go to the bottom of the screen and click all the way to the left and unmute that button there, and then you'll be able to speak. So yeah, man, so that's what we're doing right now on the RealHD show. We got a really, really interesting story about the Proud Family inviting a gay couple into major cartoon content. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Mama Sarah, if you want to jump in and give your opinion on it, please join us. You got to unmute yourself, though.
Hello.
Hey, Mama Sarah, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Peace and blessings to you. It seemed like we lost you a couple times in the beginning when we were starting the show.
I'm outside.
That's okay. Yeah, so I guess the connection might be spotty a little bit. Are you keeping up with what we're putting down on the show right now?
What the topic's about?
Well, right now we're talking about the Proud Family, the cartoon, and it's introduced the Proud Family. It's a Disney Channel cartoon, and it features a lot of success.
There's a lot of static. I can't hear you.
Oh wow! So you probably may have to get to a position where you have a better signal if you can't hear me. All right. Well, while Mama Sarah does that, we will jump into a quick musical break. Um, and right now we're going to play Shorty by DJ Clean. Check it out, Real HD Show. That's right. That's Shorty by DJ Clean, one half of Dirty Clean. Shout out to the Dirty Clean clique. Look out for the Dirty Clean reality show coming to you. That's right. You're going to see the journey of 12 young, brilliant artists, 2 producers, lots of female artists coming to you, showing you their journey live in a reality show coming to you soon. Real HD Show Productions. We're going to get it going. You know what I mean? For the 2021. And we are back on a Real HD Show with our good, the bad, and the ugly headlines that we battle with freedom music right here on the Real HD Show. You know what I'm saying? So the first one we tackled was the Proud Family and whether or not they were going to put a gay couple, LGBTQ couple, on their show, on the reboot show. You know what I mean? And it's interesting. I don't really think they need, a whole lot to make that show go, but they chose to do it anyway. Looking forward to your opinions in the chat, in the comments, and then you can also zoom up and let us know your piece on the issue right here on the Real HD Show. You know what I mean? And because it is a Shabazz Day, happy Shabazz Day, happy Malcolm X birthday to everyone. You know what I mean? That's our shining prince. That's the one that stood up for us unapologetically. You know what I mean? And he told it like it is. And he went through his rites of passage, manhood process, and came out a shining prince of Afrocentricity and who stood up for our rights unapologetically. Therefore, we celebrate Malcolm X today right here on the Real HD Show. And by doing that, we want to take a quick look at the legacy, the life and legacy of Malcolm X on his birthday. And by doing that, we have an article that comes to us through the Washington Post. And Malcolm X's daughter is quoted saying, "It's time to pull the knife all the way out." And the context of the article essentially is, what does Malcolm's legacy look like right now in 2021? All the work that he did, he would have been 96. You know what I mean? Right now, today, he would have been 96 years old. He would have been a super senior if he was still amongst us. And the way he ate and with his discipline, if he wasn't shot and killed, there was no doubt that the brother would have took care of himself to the point he probably would still been with us right now, which would have been awesome. His daughter seems to think, Elisa Shabazz, she believes, according to the article, that a lot of Malcolm's objectives would have been already accomplished because he was very solution oriented and he did not take no for an answer, and he always challenged our community to resolve the best in ourselves and not the worst. And all you have to do is look to the movie One Night in Miami, where you see him, you see Malcolm X, you see Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, and I believe it's Sam Cooke in the movie. And you give the account of their friendship and what transpired when they spent some time together, and you get it. You get a real solid glimpse at the accountability that Malcolm possessed and how he held everyone around him accountable, including himself. And he even had a tug of war with himself with how, how brash and how, unapologetic, or how, firm he was with even the accountability within himself, because he wanted to really see his people succeed and win. And he knew only accountability to each other and to the society at large, and what our rights were supposed to be, and how our get down was supposed to be when we're searching for our freedom, justice, and equality. That nothing less than that would be good enough for his folks and his people. And that's the way he lived his life, and he wasn't afraid to give his life to move another step further in that fight for freedom, justice, and equality. So another part of the article mentions what do Elisa, a reporter asked Elisa in the Washington Post, what would Malcolm think of the recent, protests, the recent BLM protests? And she said she thought that he would be very, very proud of us and, black people's ability to stand up for ourselves and demand what we believe is due to us. And unfortunately, from a mantra perspective and from an energetic perspective, all of those things are very, very true. But we've learned in recent times that the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement, which were, Patrisse Cullors and Tamika Mallory was very involved in the Black Lives Matter movement. They had took those donations and did some really, really heinous things with it, and did not keep the same energy that they received those donations, and the same honesty and integrity that they received those donations with. They took it and used it for some erroneous, self-serving purposes. And I do not think that he would be happy with that. And I think he would really bring it to them and seek a swift accountability for their role in those funds being used in the same energy that they were gotten in, which is for the purpose of our people's freedom, justice, and equality. So once again, happy Shabazz Day, happy Malcolm X birthday. You know what I mean? To the red, to the orange and black, Mama League brothers, the king and I salutes the king and you. I love you, brothers. This is our day too. We honor Brother Malcolm as our shining example of manhood. And I'm very, very proud to do that story and bring that to you right here on the RealHD show. And that was the Malcolm legacy moment right here on the RealHD show. Yeah, man. So I think that's really dope. And I'm going to try to, we're going to go to a quick musical break. And we're going to see what we can get done after that on the phone lines and in the comments and in the chats right here on the RealHD show. Here is our disclaimer, and away we go with healing music right here on the RealHD show. Brown Sugar, Black Pride. Let's go. Soca, reggae. Let's go.
Black is the color of my skin. Black is the life that I live. And I'm so proud to be the color God made me. And I just got to say, black is my color. Black is my color. And I've got no reason to disguise. Black is the pride in me, for all to see. And I just got to say, black is my color.
Yeah, that was Brown Sugar, Black Pride, right here on the Real HD Show. A little reggae, a little soca, a little old school joint, 1977. Shout out to the Orange and the Black, founded in 1977. Afrocentric fraternalism, Black Pride, Brown Sugar, right here, back on the Real HD Show. And we're going to jump into another good, the bad, the ugly, chaotic headline that we're healing with freedom music. You know what I mean? But we're gonna jump into this particular one, and this is a crazy one, man. Please jump in if you like. Here is the call letter, Zoom meeting ID 880-9533-2345 and passcode 091603. It's your voice, your victory, right here on the Real HD Show. Join us if you can. So our next chaotic headline comes to us from the Independent newspaper or the Independent periodical, and of course they're an online source at this point. And thanks to my Earth, you know what I mean, she showed me this one, and I think it's worth talking about. You know what I mean? Now, I truly believe that according to science, science tells us that, black people, if the world was to end today and African people were in the middle of Africa, all it would take would be two people with pure African stock to repopulate the entire world. But this dude, this recently departed joker, Jeffrey Epstein, found an article with him and by him saying Jeffrey Epstein wanted to, with his own sperm, impregnate 20 women at a time so he can seed the entire human race. Out of control. Just out of control. And I just thought that was an interesting headline to bring up and talk about. And I'm going to pull up the article in 1 second and read you a quick byline, because even though this guy is gone, he continues to, impact the culture of the country. So it says Jeffrey Epstein for years hoped to seed the human race with his DNA, by impregnating women at his ranch in New Mexico, according to a report that also detailed apparent interest in having his head and penis frozen when he died. The unusual dream was first reported by the New York Times. Four people interviewed confirmed his interest in transhumanism, which is a science for improving the human race through genetic engineering and other methods. Critics have drawn similarities between the science of this and eugenics. So there you have it. What do we think about that? Jeffrey Epstein wanted to repopulate the planet on some Hitler stuff. He wanted a race of him to roam about the planet, and he wanted to do it through transhumanism or genetic engineering, which is super, super interesting. It's super, super narcissistic, to say the least, but it's interesting that he chose that particular methodology to even want to do that, right? And it's interesting for this very reason. The next headline that we're going to jump into, which is, give me 1 second to fit into the screen. Boom. How the end of the white majority could change dynamics by 2040. That's powerful right there. So we're talking about the white population of the country dwindling to the point where it changes dynamics by 20 national dynamics, which will probably mean world dynamics as well by 2040. So I'm going to pull up this article really quickly and read you guys the byline to this, because I think the byline to this is powerful. As soon as I can pull it up, and why am I drawing a blank for how I could reach it? Here we go, bookmarks, right? That's what we need. Yep. And then, so white majority declining by 2040. Over the last 2 decades, white Americans are projected to be less than 50% of the population, paving the way for a labor force that's more diverse than ever before. It says it's true in the coming decades, the U.S. will indeed get browner, as a shift that this is already underway. In 2018, the non-Hispanic white Americans counted for 60% of the population as per the Census Bureau. That's a notable drop from 2000, when they comprised of 69% of the populace. In 2 decades, we'll be on the cusp of a demographic milestone, the advent of a white minority. The non-Hispanic population will fall to 47.7% by the year of 2045. Now, what's interesting about this is when my son was small and he had a hip issue, we had to take him to the doctor and we had to get him looked at for his hip, and he had to be in a brace, and the hip had to be, casted, and he never missed a beat because he went on to run a 4.4 and be a football athlete and go to college and never missed a beat. But what I learned, though, being in the ortho office and different doctors' offices that we had to go into to, make sure that he did, that all vital signs were pointing up for my firstborn, what we saw was a snapshot of white babies that were really deformed. You know what I mean? One baby that we saw had elephantitis. So he was about, maybe 6 months old, but he had the height and width and cranium of a kid that was 3 years old, 4 years old. And of course that means an early death for some. We saw some babies that were gingers, and they had a lot of medical issues. We saw some babies that were blonde babies, and they had a bunch of medical issues. And the only medical issue that my son had was because he was, I guess, twisted or maneuvered a certain way when he was being birthed. His hip was dislocated slightly, and he had to get a brace. But we noticed how many babies were not being abnormal babies, abnormalities, birth defects, and they were office full of birth defect babies. So we were like, wow. My wife and I was sitting there, and she would elbow me like, "Yo, don't laugh, like don't cut up. This is something that's really really different and really really interesting. You know what I mean?" Um, so you know, I see the headline about abnormalities in their birthing process and how their population is going to decline and fall. And I think feminism is one of the major reasons why uh, white birthing rates are declining. Women are waiting longer and longer, having geriatric pregnancies after 35, and not bringing as many babies to term, not bringing 3 and 4 babies like decades of yester, like the Gen Xers and the Boomers and the Greatest Generation, and the Millennials and the Zs are just not bringing forth those babies like they used to. They're more concerned with getting the bag, getting paid, paving their career, having their career. There's nothing wrong with that, but you know we see those trends continuing. Now, here's the word to the wise on this particular subject matter, because we don't have a lot of people in the chat right now participating with the show. So I just wanted to pop this particular item up because we think about it from a perspective of, wow, white people have a lot of medical issues and choice-based issues, which are inhibiting them from really bringing forth the population the way they should. But what happens when this article comes into play? African American wealth may fall to zero by 2053. So there we go again. There's Brother Malcolm and his energy and his frequency making us accountable. How do we, they have their comeuppance by 2040, and we have our comeuppance to avoid by 2053. We got to increase those wealth streams. And I know one of the number one ways to increase our wealth streams is by, inheritable or transitional wealth that we get from our, boomers and the Greatest Generation that are moving on, and they're leaving us that legacy to move with. But what are we going to do to make sure that those things are headed in a really great direction for us by 2053? You know what I mean? Some people say invest. Some people say work really, really hard, hustle. Striverism is what they call it in the churches, or prosperity preaching, prosperity gospel. Go out there and get yours, and get your Benz and your Beamer and your big house, and live it on up like the Jeffersons. And what is really going to increase that racial wealth gap by 2053? That's the word to the wise consideration that we need to really ponder on and build on right here on the Real HD show, in lieu of that headline. So white people, their population is going to dwindle, and we knew that because they have the ammonia gene. You know what I mean? And that ammonia within their carbon print is going to prevent them from ultimately moving on. And if you've watched previous Real HD shows, then you know what I'm talking about, and you know how we made the connection between COVID and the ammonia gene and the Caucasus Mountains and the ascension of them to into history with Sense Warset II, when he went to the Caucasus Mountains and brought down and civilized and educated the first Greeks and Romans on the island of Crete. Well, not Romans, but the first Greeks on the island of Crete. And then we know the rest from there. Sparta, Athens, Peloponnesian Wars, Punic Wars, and then of course the centuries move on, and we are where we are. But what are we gonna do? What's our accountability measures? How are we gonna make sure that racial wealth gap is uh, closed, and we are not disproportionately at a disadvantage for what we are, who we are, wealth wise, at the state of 2053, right here on the Real HD Show. It's 8:46 in the PM. You're watching a Wild Out Wednesday show on the Real HD Show. It's almost time for that segment that we always joke around with on the Real HD Show. And the reason why we joke around with it a little bit, but I like showing it, is because we don't want to give anybody a pass. We want full accountability for what we do right here on the Real HD Show. And with that, we're getting ready to bring you Karen Apocalypse. You know what I mean? That's our weekly showing of how white women are just losing their mind with their sense of entitlement. And what that means on the Real HD Show, with their activity and their entitlement and what they go through and what they put others through. You know what I mean? Just because they've gone through a long time, many centuries of entitlement. You know what I mean? And we want to shed some light on that right here on the Real HD Show. So we're going to get into what we call Karen Apocalypse right here on the Real HD Show. Edutainment at its finest. Check it out. Yeah, man. So our first Karen Apocalypse moment is brought to you by Karen University. And what's Karen University? I'm glad you would ask. Check it out.
Karen University, we offer the finest education, from language lessons.
Now repeat after me. I want to speak to the manager. I want to speak to the manager. Very good.
Biology lessons.
Now this is your stereotypical manager.
And even fashion lessons.
Now you want the back to be as short as possible.
Enroll today to become the best pain in the arse that you can be at Karen University.
Yeah, man, that's what we do right here on the Real HD Show. We getting a little jokey smurf with it, you know what I mean? But we bring that to you just to show you what these Karens go through. And first Karen Apocalypse moment that we're going to bring to you on the Real HD Show comes to you courtesy of a Mickey D's Karen. Now, the context behind this, the context behind the Mickey D's Karen, give me 1 second, because I think that was a little overdone. Let me pop it up on here. And let me move that over. Scoot ya, move ya. And we're going to go to Mickey D's Karen right here on the Real HD Show. Check it out.
No, I want to know your name.
What you called me?
No, what is your name?
Because you called me.
Okay, bitch, can I tell you something?
Wow. So the context behind this is I believe the Spanish-speaking sister is behind the counter just trying to do her job. And this white woman calls her the B word and rushes behind the counter to confront her because of whatever her entitlement issue was at the particular time. She rushes behind the counter to give her a piece of her entitled mind. Check it out.
I come back there, I run around. Step back, what is your name? Step back, what's your name? Step back, what is your fucking name?
Whoa! She rips off the mask of the person who's behind the counter because she is entitled to do whatever she wants to do because it's all white, so it's all right. You know what I mean? How do you rip the mask and violate that person's space like that? That young woman just trying to make $1 out of 15 cents and still pay the rent, as my man Pac say. And she would not let up until my man came through. The mail worker came through, and then the Karen.
What is your name?
Feel some type
You
of
tell
way.
me right now. Tell me. Okay, she's going to jail. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
And then she has the nerve to say that this particular person is going to go to jail because she did not do her bidding. She did not do her bidding. That is definitely a Karen apocalypse moment right here on the Real HD show. And, just for kicks and giggles, let's go to another Karen apocalypse moment right here on the Real HD show. Check it out. We're going to have to open it up one more time. Go down. I had all of this ready and queued up, but of course, anything that can happen will happen with this technology. But we're not going to let one bad monkey stop no show. We're just going to bring it to you the other way. So here's another Karen. You know what I mean? Now, that one Karen got to show her Dusty. You know what I'm saying? She got to really show out and show off just like she wanted to. But this particular Karen gets hers fast and furious, and the Real HD show is here for it. Check it out.
In jail. I really.
Oh, no, she did it. That's a Karen apocalypse moment right here on the Real HD show. That's bananas. I don't know what to say about that, but we're going to watch it one more time. The sister who's the cop tells her in the beginning of the video that she is going to go to jail over a dispute that she had, over a racial dispute that she had with another. I don't know if the person is black or Spanish or whoever it was, but the sister who's the cop is trying to, diffuse the situation. And this is what this entitled Karen decided to do.
In jail. I really.
Oh, man. Struggle. Toiling trouble. Wait for it. That's the end. There she blows. I'll play it one more time for folks who missed it all. She tells her she's going to jail.
In jail.
You're going to jail.
I really.
Oh! The crazies. Wait for it. Wow. Safe. She goes home. And that is your Karen apocalypse moment right here on the Real HD show. You know what I mean? That's what we do. We bring you that wild and crazy stuff that can also entertain you, but also enlighten you to the fact that folks ain't all innocent, man. People have to be held accountable for what they do and their part in the mess, just like they want to hold the patriarchy accountable. We have to hold women accountable, white women accountable for the mess that they create. And that's why we do Karen Apocalypse on the Real HD show. And if you like what we do and you digging how we bringing it to you, you know what I mean? How we bring you that edutainment, get with us. Our Cash App is $ the Real HD show, $ the Real HD show, and all donations go to making this program more and more tech savvy. It goes to making us more and more prepared to bring you quality content and opportunities for us to have wittier and wittier dialogue with the technology So once again, I'm going to put the call letters up there. And if you want to join the show and talk about anything that you saw or anything that you heard, please jump on. That's our Zoom ID. You are more than welcome to jump in. We had Mama Sarah on a little while ago, but I think she was having some technical trouble, and so we let her get her technicalities under control, and then we'll always have Mama Sarah back because she's a regular and she's always going to support us. And once again, all music is fair. All music and videos especially, are fair use, used for educational purposes only. And music is licensed, supported, courtesy of Soundtrack Your Brand. YouTube, please don't strike. We have permissions. We have a arrangement with ASCAP via Soundtrack to play all music that comes courtesy of the RealHD show. So that is our get down. That is how we do it. So everyone can look forward to hearing great vibes, great music as we deal with those chaotic headlines and we heal with freedom music right here on the RealHD show. And it's segment time on the RealHD show. And I think it's powerful segments that we have. And one of the more powerful segments that we have is the Lit City Report. And what is the Lit City Report? The Lit City Report is the wacky, the wild, and the wonderful news in the black community, African diaspora, brought to you by the RealHD show. And this week's Lit City Report happens to be twofold. And I'm not sure if we're going to get to both, but I'm going to try because it's 9 o'clock in the PM, just about. And we want to make sure that we cover what we need to cover to make you well aware as we fight for our freedom, justice, and equality by bringing you absolutely great content on a RealHD show. So our Lit City Report is attorney, musicians, fights, wins, the fight to have the N-word deleted from a major dictionary. So here we go again with the N-word. So I think that's dope because, of course, dictionaries and the English lexicon wasn't really derived for us in our particular, I won't say enjoyment, but it wasn't made specifically for us. It was made for other peoples. And of course, as you look at the macro in society, of course, and as you look at the definitions that make up the dictionary, they're often racist in content, and they're often discriminatory in content. And we have to redefine that. And I think I applaud this brother for trying his best to do that. But of course, if you go on a deeper level, and the Lit City Report is about illumination and enlightenment, whereas if you go to the etymology or the first way that the N-word is brought into the dialect and lexicon or nomenclature of the American paradigm or the American pastime, it was done as making us subjective to derogatory, terroristic insults in times of chattel slavery for the decades that existed. But there is a secondary, or I should say, an origin to the NGGA paradigm, and that is the Naga. And all the Naga are the original inhabitants of the African continent, or Amotare, more distinctly, and what their elite called themselves in an elite antiquity where we were the kings and queens, God selves, if you will, that roam the planet Earth. You know, so the original kings and queens, gods, if you will, were called the Naga. And what's interesting about the language and the etymology of the Naga is that the Bantu people who came from South Africa and up the west coast of Africa in their travails throughout the, they had the largest populations that travailed throughout the continent from those particular, antiqual times. They basically held on to a lot of the language, and in those areas there were no vowels in those days. The vowel was expressed in frequency and rhythm and energy. It wasn't expressed in a character. You know what I mean? Because that's not the way that the Kundalini or the pineal gland would express that. It was a vibration. It was more of a resonance than an actual vowel. Vowels are a European construct. And then of course you got Rosetta Stone and the borrowing of the languages and on and on and on to current times. But the Naga NGG or the NGG kind of frequency within the language even showed itself in the time of Shaka Zulu, because Shaka Zulu used to call his dad the Nju, the Nju. So in other words, NGU. I'm sorry, that's wrong. The Ngosi. That was what Shaka Zulu called his father, Ngosi, the king. The king of the Zulu was the Ngosi. So you can look that up. And then also the Nju was one of the regal names given to a king in Kemet, Kush, or Punt. So it's interesting how the, earlier times, the Naga, and then you see how the word travels as times progress from prehistoric antiqual times all the way to now. But the European took the word and denigrated it and turned it into something that it was, into a derogatory terroristic term. And then once again, in this hemisphere of the planet, we had to reclaim the word and use it as a term of endearment to describe each other. So it's really powerful, man, So I applaud this brother in his attempt, but we got to dig a little deeper and we got to look a little harder and look a little and really realign ourselves with our ancestral energies so that we're going in the right direction with what we're trying to do. But I applaud the brother, and I at least, like the fact, his attempt to get it out of white people's mouths. And if it doesn't happen through policy and legislation and corporate structure, we can get it out of their mouths with a fist. You know what I mean? No pun intended, no threat intended. Don't strike YouTube. We just expressing ourselves. Freedom of speech. You know what I mean? No threat intended. But they should be respectful, and white folks should be respectful in the way that they deal with black people when they use that term, and then we wouldn't have to resort to those methods to seek justice for ill-gotten or disrespectful ways that they deal with us within this country of America. And it's way past bedtime for that, you know what I mean? So that was your Lit City report. This brother, busted his hump and got a couple of publishing houses to remove the N-word from dictionaries, and hopefully that will lead to another generation of young folk understanding that that word is not appropriate to describe anybody. And then if they want to know the history of how that word was created and its original intent, they will come to the history Talibs of sorts and find out the etymology of that word and revere it in its proper way. You know what I mean? So that is the Lit, City Report, The Weird, The Wacky, The Wonderful. And in that case, that was our wonderful, wonderful add-on on the Real HD show. And I wanted to play something real quick. You know what I mean? A quick song. Let me put on the disclaimer real quick before we play it. And this is J. Cole, Pride is the Devil. New joint that just came out right here on the Real HD show. Check it out.
Pride is the devil. Think it got a hold on me. Pride is the devil. Pride is the devil. Think it got a hold on me. Pride is the devil. And left so many R.I.P. Pride is the devil. Think it got a hold on me. Pride is the devil. Terrified, paranoid, I put you over everything to fill the void. And when you're gone, will I have anything or will I be destroyed? Terrified, paranoid, I put you over everything to fill the void. And when you're gone, will I have anything or will I be destroyed? Yeah. Bright lights pass me in the city, it's emergency. I'm thankful cause I made it past my 30s, no one murdered me. Still remember vividly the nigga that pulled a gun on me. I'm petrified but moving like I got no sense of urgency. Pride make a nigga act way harder than he really be. Pride hide the shame of sin and cut off all utilities. Pride hide the pain of growing up in hell and poverty. Pride make a nigga feel the way that you would follow me. Make you have to take a bitch to court to see a prodigy. Make you have to use your last resort and pull a robbery. Pride be the reason for the family dichotomy. Got uncles and some aunties that's too proud to give apology. Slowly realizing what the root of all my problems be. It got me feeling different when somebody said they proud of me. Pride is the devil. I think it got a home.
Yeah, man, that was the new J. Cole, Pride is the Devil. Check out that album, man. Lyrical mastery right here on the Real HD show. You know what I mean? We had to play that joint. Once again, let's put that disclaimer up. I know that this might be annoying for some listeners and some users. You know what I mean? We have permissions. We have the ASCAP agreement. We are not violating any musicality agreements or rights. We have rights to play pop music on the Real HD show. So, away we go. And we have one more segment, man, before we close out the Real HD show. For this Wild Out Wednesday, we had our Karen Apocalypse moment. You know what I mean? And that was wild funny. You know what I mean? This chick thought she could, she could throw some moonshine in the joint. But, Prohibition is over, and she thought she could throw the moonshine on us. You know what I'm saying? It was quite ridiculous. Redunculous. You know what I mean? And my best Mike Tyson voice. Simply, ridiculous. Anyway. So, we on it. You know what I mean? We had a lot in store. We want your opinion. And to get it and to give it, we want you to jump on and give your opinion. You can zoom up and meet us and talk to us right here. I hope you guys can see this when we go full screen. Yeah, there we go. We look good. Okay. So, there we go. So, we're going to jump into our stolen legacy moment. And what is our stolen legacy moment? Our stolen legacy moment is in the tradition of Steve Coakley's, the Dr. Ben's, the Dr. Clark's, the Ivan Van Sertima's, the the George G.M. James, the John Jacksons, the Ivan Van Sertima's, the Dr. Francis Cress Wilson's, the Ida B. Wells. We're going to tell it like it is, and we're going to blast off and give you those tidbits of our history that are ours to claim, that are not, you're not going to find in any standardized test, in any school curriculum, that you are going to learn from over the last 40 years. You're only going to find it in a book if you take a look, if you are forever a talib, forever a seeker and a learner. But we try to do our ancestors a really, really great solid and bring it to you right here on the Real HD show. And that is our stolen legacy moment. You know, that greatness of our people that allows us to be who we are and you know, rise. And we are much more than slaves in chains and what this continent wants to dictate to us that we are. And here it is, our stolen legacy moment right here on the Real HD show. Check it out.
Balanta are an interesting people because the meaning of their name exemplifies their reputation. Balanta means those who resist, but we'll get into that a little later. The Balanta are the largest ethnic group in Guinea-Bissau, coming in.
And shout out to the African channel who, fair use by the way, fair use. All videos are used for educational purposes only. Shout out to the African History Channel, and you know, they're putting this together, and I thought it was pivotal that you guys see this because it speaks to a lot of, you know, what's going on the continent and how we can understand how our contribution on the continent impacts us today from a history standpoint. Check it out.
At over 400,000 people, they can be divided into several subgroups, the largest of which are known as the Balanta Brasa. Other groups are known as the Balanta Mane and the Balanta Beja. Most archaeologists...
Shout out to Brother Baleka, who was a guest on the Real HD show, and his African Restoration initiative to get all black people, all people of the African diaspora, get our genealogy tested through mitochondrial studies, a mitochondrial examination, so we can know where we come from and where we're going, and return to our roots and be in our rightful selves right here on the Real HD show. Check it out.
Just believe that the people who became known as the Balanta migrated to Guinea-Bissau in small groups between the 10th and 14th centuries. In the 19th century, they spread further into Guinea-Bissau and southern Senegal, mostly to resist other expansionist states or peoples. Oral tradition claims that they came from a region they called Nhakra.
Nhakra.
However, before that, they came from a more eastern region within West Africa.
So I guess the brother is talking about how the Balanta were not originally a West African people. They migrated. Now, rumor has it that they were always a rebellious people, always a warring people, always never relenting and never capitulating, never giving up their independence. And they came from a region of the Nile Valley, of the Kush area and the Punt area of Africa.
The oral tradition concerning Balanta migration has two trends, one of which is that they left the more eastern region due to Mandinka or Fulani pressure. According to some accounts, the origin of the Balanta was in Mali. Due to various reasons, the Balanta were forced toward the west near the coastal regions. Balanta and other ethnic groups did not have good relations. There were always wars with other ethnic groups over land and theft. I can say that the Benindi always emerged victorious and pushed the Balanta to littoral regions that the Balanta discovered later were good for agriculture.
So, in other words, they brought their agricultural skill sets, their agrarian lifestyle with them, and no matter where they were displaced from because of their fights for freedom, their fights to maintain themselves due to Greek expansion, their African expansion, Islamic expansion in the northern hemisphere of Africa, they maintained themselves in a proud tradition of agrarian warriors. Check it out.
There does exist some other oral accounts that ultimately place Balanta origins in eastern Africa, specifically the Nile Valley. Despite this, the recent origin in Guinea-Bissau or Mali is where we get the meaning of the name Balanta, thus solidifying a full Balanta identity. Apparently, the Mandinka had many run-ins with the Balanta as they tried to extend their power and influence in West Africa. It's been suggested that the name Balanta comes from the Mandinka word Balanto, which means those who resist, and so they seem to have given the Mandinka a run for their money, or at the very least, made their journey into statehood very difficult. This makes sense on the account that aside from their constant resistance, their social organization was non-traditional, making them largely unmanageable. The Balanta quickly realized that the coast offered more defenses and opportunities for counterattack against slave raiding and other attacks from conquering armies. The Balanta grow many foods, some of which include rice and peanuts. They cultivate yams, paddy rice, and maize. The religious ideas of the Balanta have been affected by the historical, political, and economic realities. The extensive labor that was needed by rice farming required a certain socio-political structure to maintain, thus influencing the traditional religion. Even though rulers did occasionally govern some Balanta, they remained largely egalitarian, which didn't really bode well, as many Balanta were seemingly opposed to one centralized elite group ruling over the masses. Instead of forming isolated communities, however, the Balanta maintained commercial relationships with surrounding communities and settlements. They increasingly showed innovation and entrepreneurship. By the 18th century, they were producing all their standard exports, along with cotton, indigo, and palm oil for the market. The Portuguese, along with Muslim groups, created much change in Balanta life. The Portuguese advanced pacification campaigns in Guinea-Bissau.
Okay, so I think we're going to cut it there. And we're going to jump back into... That was your Stolen Legacy moment. Right here on the RealHD show. You know what I mean? And I think shout out to Brother Baleka and his African Restoration Movement. Look up AfricanRestorationMovement.com .org, online, and you can find out more about how you can get your mitochondria DNA harvested and examined, and it can tell you exactly, or more accurately, where your people are from and how you guys can move forward in identifying yourself, identifying where you come from, and identifying your roots, so you can truly understand your place and your frequency on this planet, and how you're supposed to walk and step, move as a African person on this planet. You know what I mean? And that was just Stolen Legacy moments. So that's what we do right here on the RealHD show. And all those that are new to the RealHD show, of course, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitch, we're on Twitter, we're on Mob Crush, we're on D Live, and now we're on these YouTube streets. Hopefully you guys like what you see, and if you like what the get down that we provide, we have a Cash App, $ RealHD show, $ the RealHD show. Now, we give you chaotic headlines, we heal them through freedom music, and we give you all our segments. And we have one more segment to give you before we leave, and that is our AAT report. Healthier, wealthier, and wiser is how we do it on the RealHD show. You know what I mean? So we give you Maccabee and what we're going to eat Wednesdays on the RealHD show. Check it out.
Greetings, welcome to Maccabee's What Me Eat Wednesday. Today it's all about Guinea. I'm not a gambling man, but I bet. A lot of you have never seen this yet. Over in the Caribbean there's a lot. Oh yep. Get set, introducing Guinea. Let's open it and let's see. You see the skin come off easily. Very similar to the lychee should be. Come from the same family. Pop it in your mouth and tasty. Suck the pulp, tangy and creamy. Discard the seed and take it from me. Guinea is one of nature's sweetie. Nature's sweets are proper. More healthy than a gobstopper. Sure, it's got the vitamin and it's got the fiber. Low in calories, you won't get wider. Antioxidants, mineral provider. Good for digestion, increase saliva. Give your immune system a boost. Certain symptoms it might reduce. Make sure it is ripe before any use. You can also take it, make juice. Here are some more names for it. Spanish lime, mamonzillo, kenip, skin up, skinip, canip, gunip, shenet, limoncillo, quenepa, genip. Yes, I am.
Yeah, that was the AAT report, Maccabee, Ginup. We used to have that. Shout out to 233rd Street, White Plains Road. Shout out to the fresh vegetable markets on 225th Street. We would go out there and we would get the Ginup, and we would get the pomegranate, and we would get our Scotch bonnet pepper for all of us that have a West Indian background. You understand what we're saying and how we getting down. That Ginup is good for you. Cellular health, healthy, wealthier, and wiser. That's how we do it right here on the Real HD Show. You know what I mean? And right before we leave, I want to get into something that I want to show as a remedy of what we do right here on the Real HD Show. It's new. It's not really, nobody really knows about it thus far, but we're going to introduce it. And here it is. Give me 1 second. That's right. It's the Racism Hotline Helpline. Your experience counts. Now, what is this? So we talk about chaotic headlines that our people go through. The racism, the brutality, the terrorism that we go through living right here in this hemisphere of North America, and the things that we are subjected to. This is why half the world, or at least 3/4 of the world, was protesting last year in good faith to remove some of those barriers, miseducation, white supremacy, Karenitis, personal safety, economic terrorism, and police brutality. So what we want to do is, our goal from the Racism Hotline Helpline is to create a database right here on the Real HD Show. So your job will be to call in, fellowship with us, tell us your experience in a very, very short, condensed way. We will record it. We will create a database. And our goal is to take that database and make it impactful on the PC people that create racist activities to injure you, and make it impactful on their money and their credit, the same way they do you. So, if anyone knows anything about insurance, you know that the insurance company has many, many ways that they decide how insurance is being divvied out in the insurance industry. They go by many, many demographics. They go by your ethnicity. They go by how much money you have. They go by what your job is. They go by your zip code. They go by whether or not your marital status. They go by a lot of different things. And usually it's the dominant society making the minority portion of the society impacted with their really, really subjective ways of giving insurance, bank loans, and different things like that. And now, of course, the advent of the later half of the 20th century, credit. So now you can't buy a house, a car, open up a business, do any sorts of advantageous economy-based things for yourself if you do not have credit. And it's always kind of going one way. But not with the Real HD Show, Racism Hotline Helpline. The RHH is here for any melanated folk that are in the country, whether you speak Spanish, whether you speak English or indifferent, or whether you're from the islands or wherever you are. If you experience racism in some sort of overt way that injured you, your job is to get on the line, fellowship with us, briefly tell us about your experience so we can database your troubles, and then make a aggregate document that goes out to all of the credit agencies. And we can petition legislation, we can petition business, and we can also petition corporate commerce to levy these things against the dominant society and their credit and their money. We want this thing to be a new paradigm for the 21st century. So if you do something racist to injure someone else, we want it to impact their credit. Whoa. Boom. You know what I mean? So they will think twice. They will think 3 and 4 and 5 times about how they approach people. I bet you the Karenitis will go way down. I bet you the Proud Boy summer will go way down. I bet you all the heinous activity in the name of racism and brutality will go way down if they know that beyond a court of law and getting involved in a lawsuit, you can also attack their personal credit and their personal money streams. Because we organized, we moved, and we lobbied for this through the racism hotline helpline. And if nothing else, it gives you an opportunity to vent, get your situation and your experience off your chest. Why? Because it's your voice, your victory. And like the sign says, your experience counts. You know what I mean? You can get it off your chest. You can speak it. You got similar company. You got similar people who can ally and really, really understand where you're coming from. And you could just let it go and be yourself and talk your experience. You know what I'm saying? Racism hotline helpline. And that's a segment we're going to be diving into on our Hardcore Monday shows, our Wild Out Wednesday shows. Whenever we have a big population, whenever we have a big contingency watching, commenting, or being involved with the show, the Racism Hotline Helpline will come in with the horns, and then we will open up the lines for folks to give their and have their say right here on the RealHD show. You know what I mean? So we're just about at the end of our show, and I really thank all those who joined us and commented, and all those who didn't. If you pick this video up at a later time and you want to rejoin us, we're on every Monday and every Wednesday night, 8 to 10 p.m. We're going to sign off right now, right around 9:30. We're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on a lot of different social media streams because we multicast, we multi-stream. We put it out there for as many people to see at a time. Please share. Tell a friend. You know what I mean? We're on these YouTube streets. We're in these YouTube airwaves. We're putting out this really, really righteous frequency. And we're going to be dealing with some topics, man, because it's the real HD. We bring you that real chaotic headlines that we battle with freedom music. And this is your man, the Vic 7. And I will have guests, co-hosts, people chiming in, people zooming up. We're going to have a call hotline. We're going to have a lot of interesting banter, fellowship, and back and forth interesting guests, hot music, hot topics. Join us on the Real HD Show. And if you want to support the Real HD Show, you can at $, the Real HD Show. That's our Cash App. Support. More than that, share this video so everybody can know. Let's try to make this a 10,000 video share, a 10,000 like, a 10,000 subscribe, so that we hit that algorithm and we make a presence right out the gate with the Real HD Show. And always, we wish you peace and walk with power. Happy birthday, Malcolm Orange and Black. We love you. Peace.